All righty, Bo. It's been a 12-year journey. We've been on an expansion economy for 12 years or so. I did incorrectly call that there would be a recession starting in Q2. That is clearly a mistake. I've owned up to that a couple of times now. But I also think it's equally true that a recession will eventually happen, right? They are part of the business cycle. As somebody who works in small business financing, I actually think that recessions are a very interesting time to buy and sell businesses, especially as we have the generation of the baby boomers getting to the point where they're like, I don't want to do this again. I've done enough recessions. I want out. So, why don't we talk about what happens during recession, both maybe creativity, more listings? What do you think small business loans during a recession?
We're talking mostly about SBA financing on this channel or this show, and SBA financing is partially guaranteed by the federal government. So during recessions, during when lenders constrict, government products don't constrict. So
Yeah.
SBA is booming, and everybody knows about SBA right now because PPP loans and EIDL loans, right? We had trillions of dollars
Mm.
given out basically to
Yeah.
business owners.
I think there's
So
been a lot of fraud. I think somebody reported like 15% fraud, or they're estimating. But yes, everybody's heard about PPP loans for sure.
But utilizing SBA, even though the rates are up, SBA loans are typically tied to Wall Street Journal Prime, at least the 7A is. So it's Wall Street Journal Prime plus a margin, and that's your fully indexed rate. So rates are in the toilet right now, but everybody goes, oh, the rate's expensive. I go, well, listen, if you're buying a cash flow stream, what's your debt? Price
Yeah.
in like the worst case scenario that it goes up another 2 or 3 percentage points. What's your cash flow look like? Worst case scenario, stress test that business. Does it make
Yeah.
sense to buy? Just like when we buy a fix and flip property. I've
Yeah.
done tons of fix and flips in my life, and I've shared profit on them. I've paid 13 or 14% to get the money. And you know what? If it penciled out and I was conservative on my underwriting, then that's a good deal.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great concept. I see a lot of people in real estate, and it's becoming very obvious to me. Your expertise in getting money for small business loans, my focus on real estate is becoming more and more common because I don't care about the cost of capital. The cost of capital is one variable. And yes, the cost of capital means if it goes up, I have to pay less. It's that simple. But if I'm going to be buying a cash flow stream or a business, I frankly want the rates to be high today because I can go to the seller and say, you idiot, I can't pay 2 million for this. It's not worth it. I'll go put my money in treasuries. I can only pay you 1.4. And then, oh, by the way, sometime in the future, rates will go down. And I'm guessing you can refi SBA loans, but that's just a guess. I have no idea.
Yeah, you can refi on a 7A with if it's not non-real estate a 7 SBA 7A loan, there's no prepayment penalty. If there's real estate, it's typically going to be a 3-year prepayment penalty, and it's a declining prepayment penalty. So you
Yeah,
can
three,
get
two,
out of
one, step down. Yeah.
yeah. I tell people SBA 7A loan is a bridge loan. It's used to get in at high leverage and buy cash flow streams. And then once you take over the business, then you refinance the debt later or repay it down because there's a small prepayment penalty. So that's really the strategy I would recommend for people.
Yeah. And again, if you're doing this and you're getting in and you got, the seller remembers last year when rates were 3%, now they're 9 or 10 or whatever they are, it's all part of the negotiations. And you can use the cost of capital as a reason, A, to get a lower price, or B, get the seller to carry back and maybe, have it be a silent second, or, there's so much flexibility. I'm starting to get the idea with small business loans, right?
Yeah, and then of course it's got to go through underwriting, and hopefully that they come back and say, listen, we can't get you the proceeds on this deal. The only way
Yeah,
we can get this deal done is the seller does a big carryback, or
exactly.
we reduce the purchase price.
Choose your poison. Carry back, lower price. Maybe you talked earlier video about even doing something called an earn out. You want to kind of hit that again?
Yeah, so an earnout is just agreement between the buyer and seller, and you typically leave. So if the seller wants $2 million. Okay, well, I'll pay you 1.4 million now. The other 600,000 will be funded out if the business reaches certain benchmarks. So then you leave that seller on the hook. Like, hey, if this business isn't performing like you say, because
Mm-hmm.
obviously there's a lot of variables like when you take over a business, and I love that because a lot of these deals you want to as the buyer, you're trying to put yourself in the best position possible. You want to have a good relationship with the seller. You really want to vet the seller because you want somebody that's honest and transparent when you're doing business. A lot of these deals, like when we're buying single family homes, we never talk to the seller typically. It's usually a wholesaler or an agent involved. On the business acquisition, you're building relationships with the seller, even if there's a broker involved.
Mhm.
And so I always tell everybody, you got to give the sniff test. You got to really vet people out and look for, buried skeletons because there's probably going to be some, and
Oh,
figure
there are
out
going to
what
be
those
some.
variables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I haven't asked you, and I hadn't planned on this, but hey, it jumped in my head, so I'm going to ask is what is the average duration from first contact? Like, hey, I met a owner of a business. He wants to sell. I want to buy, to going through all the due diligence and all the process. Are we talking like 6 months is not unreasonable from first contact?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I have some statistics which are here.
Yeah. Look
But
at you. You got paperwork.
yeah, but anyways, yeah, you're about right on. It's 6 to 8 months from the time you originally engage on the business. So it's a longer dance. And
Yeah. No, that's okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
the time the LOI is signed, it's typically 60, 90 days from the time the LOI is signed. But there's usually a month or so of this dancing
Yeah.
and
Getting to know each
feeling out.
other, figure them
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I heard about recessions, and I think I actually read this when I was getting my degree. Um, I was going to say syndications, but that's not right. Basically, companies that have, like you can buy a McDonald's franchise. Wow, why did that word escape me? Franchise purchases go up in recessions. Is that still true?
Yeah, there's so much money going into franchising. I mean, there's these master franchisers, let's call them, and they have brands underneath them that they market. So
Hmm.
you might have like Neighborly, and they have XYZ franchises underneath them, franchisors. And typically, what you're seeing now, the nice thing about that is I really like the home service franchise businesses. So like things that are fragmented, like flooring
Mm.
installation. The average job on this one franchise is like $7,300 per job, right? It's a home-based business. You don't even need a showroom. You got a mobile showroom that you drop over, and there's such fragmentation in that industry that it's huge. And they're doing millions, a couple $1 million in revenue. The top franchise locations with a couple of employees. So
Wow.
there's that kind of potential out there within the franchise world. There's a lot of money in going into the space, already in the space. It's huge on the GDP. Here's some stats for you though. So this year they're projecting close to 2% growth in franchise, like which is about 15,000 units. So that would put us about 805,000 franchise units in the U.S. Job growth, 254,000 jobs this year will be created through franchising. Economic output measured. This is stuff that you'll like. Is 860 billion for 2023, up from 825 billion. So basically, lots of money going in there. If I look at the entrepreneurs, I think I talked about it on another episode. I'm in a mastermind group. There's 900 millionaires in this mastermind group. I'm watching these people that are all real estate investors, and what are they doing now? They're buying, insulation companies, franchises like USA Insulation, as an example, is a franchise that some of them are buying. They're doing like lawn care franchises, and they're not necessarily going to be the owner operator. They're going to invest, and they're going to get a business model where they can put a general manager in place. So there's all different franchise concepts and models that match. That's what I like about it. So whether you're looking for an existing business or you're looking to start a franchise, buy into a blueprint, we can help you with all this. We can navigate the financing. We could talk to you about strategies. I mean, it's all out there for any of us to take advantage of. And there's some low cost franchise options too, where you can get started relatively inexpensive. If you're a real serial entrepreneur, you can go into these larger franchise concepts that have multiple. They have roofing companies, HVAC companies, plumbing companies. And so what a lot of people do is once they own the territory, they then bring in like Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, right? And you see these trucks everywhere you're driving, and that's how these people scale. They own like 5 or 6 franchise concepts.
Mm. There's
Crazy.
just so much opportunity here. Again, I think, our first video today talked about 90% of people trying to buy a business never do. I really do think it's because they don't have a partner in crime that helps them get the money, understand the money. I think they have to do it cash or get seller financing. There's so much room between those. You are the concierge for one rental at a time fans in small business. How could they reach out and schedule a call to see what's what?
Just go to boeckstein.biz, click on one rental at a time, and book a call. And I'm happy to talk to you. And I've enjoyed the conversations with the one rental at a time that I've had so far. There's been quite a few. Everybody's go-getters. I was surprised how many people are in real estate and also want to own a business. People that had exited out of their W-2 jobs and they're like, hey, I still want some cash flow coming in. I own, I want to grow my portfolio, so I need some cash flow here to grow the portfolio. So I see that as a huge value add within,
Yeah.
your community.
I think it makes perfect sense. And the more and more conversations we have, the more and more synergies I see. But again, I think financing in real estate is easy. It's been understood for decades. I think the majority of folks don't understand the flexibility of small business loans. And we are so blessed at this channel to have you come back each week. I thank you. They thank you. Again, boeckstein.biz. Schedule your free call right now. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.